Pretty much ever since I started this podcast, I've been telling you about a service called Anchor. And if you hadn't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And who doesn't have a podcast these days? Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you truly need to make a podcast in one place. Here's what you need to do. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to the 99% Loco Podcast.
Hey there, it's Chris Green, host of the 99% Local Podcast. This podcast exists because I love meeting new, interesting people and sharing stories of success and sometimes failures. The 99% Local Podcast brings stories from Middle Tennessee and Nashville-based entrepreneurs, business owners, organizations, side hustlers, musicians, authors, and anyone else that might be interesting and has a story to tell. Everybody has a story, their own unique upbringings, and passions for why they're doing what they're doing. As far as the name of the podcast goes, well, I think you'll be able to figure that out on your own. Hey, podcast family. Welcome to episode number 28. This week's guest is my friend, Wendy Lee Stevenson. Wendy is a Jersey girl turned Southern, currently residing in Thompson Station, Tennessee. She loves worship music, sunshine, lake life, and building community online and in person. As a mom of 7 surviving on Jesus, coffee, and dry shampoo, Wendy runs 2 virtual businesses, both centered on helping catapult others into their true calling. Yes, I said mom of 7. Wendy has a passion for adoption and foster care, having 3 adopted children of her own. Wendy started out spending many years working in corporate America, but she knew she wanted to do more. You'll hear us talk about it in the episode, but Wendy is part of a community called Butterfly Entrepreneur, which is an online space she is growing to build relationships with others running in their own lane of the marathon of entrepreneurship, and where she is focusing on social learning in a way of helping others grow and build their social media marketing and engagement. I really hope you enjoy this episode as we talk a lot about how Wendy has grown her businesses to where they are today, her passion for adoption and foster care, and what it's like raising 7 children. So let's get to it. Here's my conversation with my friend Wendy Lee Stevenson, who I would call a social mompreneur. This week I am with Wendy Lee Stevenson. Is that your official name?
That's my official
Wendy
name.
Stevenson?
Yeah.
And we're friends, right? I'd consider you a friend, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I've been looking forward to talking with you. We've known each other for a couple months now, and you got some cool stories. Personally too, you've been an influence with social media as well with what I'm doing with this podcast too. So,
awesome.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
So would you consider yourself a serial entrepreneur?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what does that mean?
Well, after spending 14 years in corporate, I got bored really easy all the time, and I didn't understand what was wrong with me because I was a job hopper. As soon as I accomplished something, I was like, okay, time to move on. And so I realized through time that that's kind of just the entrepreneurial spirit in me. And so the same thing happens with my business. You know, I launched into network marketing, and then it was like, okay, that's fun, but it's not enough. So what can I create? So I'm always creating something new, coming up with new ideas for businesses, and really my biggest struggle is reining it in and staying focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And we're going to dig into that.
Yeah.
Let's go way back then, because I know you're originally from Jersey.
Yeah.
Jersey. Right?
I don't sound like it anymore.
Yeah.
But.
So were you born and raised in New Jersey?
Yeah. So I was born in South Jersey. It's different than North Jersey, so Philadelphia area.
Okay.
And lived there for 7 years. Then we moved across the bridge to Delaware for 7 years. And then age 14 moved to Franklin, Tennessee.
At 14?
Yeah.
Okay. So what brought you to Franklin, Tennessee?
My dad's job. And I'll never forget, 8th grade, he's like, I was such a goody two-shoes until 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I started getting in a whole bunch of trouble in 8th grade. And it was not really the person I wanted to be. So when my dad said, hey, do you want to move 14 hours away? I was like, let's do it. Yeah. So we moved for his job, and it was culture shock. I moved from inner city to country and cows next door.
So you're 14. So what, were you in high school or just getting ready to start?
I started my freshman year in Tennessee.
Oh, wow. That had to suck.
Yeah. It was weird.
Okay. So let's talk about, life once you got to Franklin, Tennessee, from there and getting through high school and where you went from there.
Yeah. I always wanted to be a singer. I didn't know Nashville was Music City until my choir director told me. And so got through high school, did all the music stuff, was voted most talented of my senior class. And didn't go to college because I thought, I'm going to be a singer. Got married right out of high school. And then had to make money. So singing, was kind of always there, but started working in corporate, and that was kind of an accident, and wound up loving it. Had 2 kids.
Wait, you loved the music or working in corporate?
I loved working in corporate.
Working in corporate.
Yeah.
So what were you doing?
I started out filing as a temp at age 19.
Okay.
And within a month, they offered me a full-time position as a sales and marketing assistant. And I learned, it was a startup company. I learned so much in that job. Had a mentor. My boss was wonderful with me, taught me a ton. I pretty much worked with scientists on formulation of products and took that formula to manufacturing and followed the process all the way through to delivery of products to customers. So I had my hands in every bit, even national TV commercials. So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. So that was that after high school then?
That was after high school.
After high school, okay.
Yeah. A year later.
Yep. So is this the same time you were dabbling in music? Because I know we talked before. You were you have an album out, or you maybe more. But I was looking you up and found one of your albums on Spotify.
Yeah, I just have one.
Okay.
And that took me years and years. I actually auditioned for like a couple. I almost had a record deal with a record company, and then they actually went under about 6 months after we started talking. And so honestly, and then having kids, and it just always became on the back burner. And I led worship, and I started to really that became my passion. It wasn't about, I want to be famous on stage anymore. It was leading worship was what I was called to do, at that time. So led worship for over 10 years.
Awesome. Where at?
Graceland Community Church, and then Wellspring.
Oh yeah, we've talked about Graceland and then Wellspring, which is where I go now. So that's right. I don't know why I just asked that. Maybe just for the listener's purpose.
There you go. But yeah, recorded an album just to have it finally.
Yeah.
So you can find me on iTunes, Spotify.
Yes. All that. So you had 2 kids young.
Yes.
I know you were married.
Yes.
Not long. You went through a divorce.
Yes.
We don't have to talk about details, but God had other plans for you, obviously. Yeah. So, I don't know what happened between, that space and catching up to, where you met your current husband. But so let's talk about that. How did you meet your current husband?
We worked together. Okay. So I took kind of a break from corporate when my kids were little, and tried to be an at-home mom, and that did not work out. I was really bored and depressing. So started working at their elementary school where my oldest son was going to go to kindergarten. Opened up brand new, and I became the school secretary.
Fun.
And my now husband was the teacher there.
Okay.
So that's how we met. Yep.
Okay. Your husband's name's John, right?
John. Yeah.
Okay. I was hoping I didn't get that wrong because I've met John a few times. So, all right. So you sent me a podcast that you did a while back with this woman from Illinois, which was kind of funny because that's where I'm originally from. So I thought that was cool. So you talked about being a mom of 7 and I don't think we've said that yet. You have 7 kids.
7 children.
And we're the same age. I know how old you are. We're not going to say how old you are, but because we've talked about this before. Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I know you said you've always wanted a large family.
Yeah. Never thought I'd have 7. But.
Never. And you've always had a desire to adopt, or at least in your later years. So let's talk about that. So you had 2 boys originally.
Yep. Divorced, remarried. John had no kids, never been married. So of course he wanted a child of his own.
Okay.
So pretty quickly after we got married, we got pregnant.
Okay.
We lost 2 in a row, which was really hard. But then came Rig, who is now 9 years old. So we had Rig, and we were done. Like, that was it. However, I did always have this passion to adopt. And back, probably when I was like 16 or 17 years old, I watched a Rosie O'Donnell 2020 special, and she was talking about adopting older foster kids. And so it was always something in the back of my mind that I wanted to do one day, is give a home to an older child. And so I was actually sitting in church, and Sean Groves was preaching the message that day. Shout out to Sean Groves. And sitting there, and all of a sudden, we sponsored a little boy in Africa from the time he was 6. And this was probably when he was about 9 years old. And all of a sudden, I felt the Lord say, "He's your son." I was like, "What? You going to tell my husband that?" Right? So anyway, we have a conversation and decide to move forward and find out what it would look like to adopt this child. Found out he had a brother. So now all of a sudden we're going to have 5 boys. And so it was kind of a long process from that point forward, but eventually after about a year and a half, we had the opportunity to travel to Africa to meet our boys. And so this was September of 2016.
Okay.
Fly out to Africa. My husband and I both go, and go to meet our boys. And as soon as we met them, it was just confirmed in our heart that these are our kids. And so the older brother of the boy that we originally set out to adopt was older than my own biological children. So that was something that was, until we met him, we just were unsure, right? So we go meet him, know that there are kids, and that same day, my husband, who has a huge heart for special needs, he's the director of Special Olympics here in Williamson County, and I jokingly said before we went there, he's gonna find one of those little girls in the special needs room and fall in love, and like joking. I knew he would fall in love, but with some of them, probably all of them. Anyway, he walks up to what they call the Hope Room, where it's one room, one apartment with all of the kids with special needs or disabilities. And he walks in and immediately lays eyes on this little girl named Esther and looks back at me like, uh-oh. I'm like, no. Anyway, 3 days into our trip, without making this a really long story, 3 days into our trip, everyone in the group with us, we traveled with 8 other women. Everyone in the group was like, Esther's your daughter. Like, you've got to adopt her too. And what they didn't know is I was thinking I was pregnant. So, so here we are in Africa, going to meet our 2 boys. John falls in love with this little girl, Esther, and by the end of the week, I was in love with her too. We decided, okay, we're going to move forward. And the day we got home, found out I was pregnant with our 4th biological kiddo.
So 2 became 3, then another.
Yeah.
Why not?
So 4 kids in 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how we wound up with 7 children.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and Esther, as you mentioned, has special needs, and every time, so she goes to school with my daughters. They had no idea who she was, but I was, telling her, oh yeah, I know Esther's mom. And they're like, oh yeah, we love Esther. She's always smiley and, Yeah.
She has a smile that lights up a room.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So we can talk about this a little bit if you're comfortable in that. So what, is it a disability or?
What's her diagnosis?
Yeah.
She has two things. One is cerebral palsy, which is typically at birth, like a lack of oxygen to the brain.
Yeah.
And so we don't know exactly what caused that, but the brain damage is definitely old. So probably at birth. And so she's nonverbal, non-mobile. So she's in a wheelchair, can't speak. And that's from the cerebral palsy. It's called spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. So basically she has really tight tone, spastic in all four of her limbs. And so it's hard for her brain to control her body. And then she also has what is temporarily diagnosed as cyclic vomiting syndrome. Oh. So she has serious GI issues and vomits anywhere from once to 8 times a day. And so that's probably been our biggest struggle with her. We didn't know this before bringing her home, really. And she was failure to thrive when she came home from Africa. So she was only 19 pounds at age 6.5, almost 7.
Oh, wow.
And and pretty quickly wound up putting in a feeding tube. And now she has what's called a GJ tube. So we bypass her stomach because she vomits so much, bypass her stomach and feed straight to her intestines. And because of that, she's now gained a ton of weight and she's like 47 pounds. She looks like a totally different kid. Just celebrated yesterday, her 8th birthday, and actually is starting to look like her age.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I saw, I watched the videos of you guys, working with her on things and, the peekaboo and the high fives and just working on her mobility. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I bet you didn't know you were going to take all this on when you went to...
No idea.
That's why I said And then the boys you have. See, I've already lost count already.
4 teenage boys.
4 teenage boys.
A 9-year-old boy and 2 girls.
9-year-old boy and 2 girls.
Yeah.
All right. And then your youngest girl, Sloan, is
2.5, almost
2.5.
3, yeah.
Yes, and she is your spitting image.
And she is a handful. Miss Personality.
So what's the age range? 2.5 to
18.
18. Wow. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me all the time, Wendy, how do you do it? Because I'm pretty all over the place with my business too. And honestly, it's because John and I do it together. I mean, I couldn't do it without him. Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And we have a mutual friend, Scott, and we were talking. So on a side note, apparently we're starting a band together.
Yes, we
us
are.
And, yes, some other people in the area. So you were going on a trip, and this is when Esther, I think, was having some issues with vomiting and stuff. And you were leaving, and John had to take over. I think Scott ended up having to take you to the airport, and I was like, "Holy cow!"
I know Scott's like, "I'll take you, so John doesn't have to leave all the kids."
Yeah,
he'd probably really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, kudos to you. That's awesome. So, I want to take a moment to tell you about Shipt Grocery Delivery. Shipt launched a few years ago in Birmingham, Alabama, founded on the mission of simplifying lives. Shipt serves members, shoppers, and communities by offering convenience and freedom. So here's how it works. Scroll through the aisles of your local stores like Target, Publix, CVS, in the Shipt app and create an order. The Shipt shoppers then work their magic, keeping you connected and giving live updates from the aisles. Your order is then delivered and arrives as soon as 1 hour. It really is that easy. I use Shipt all the time, and let me tell you, going to the grocery store is not one of my favorite things to do. Shipt saves time, fuel, and headspace. With next hour same-day delivery, I have what I need when I need it, whether it's Monster energy drinks, ice cream, and even alcohol. Yes, Shipt can now deliver your favorite adult beverages. I regularly order from my local Target and Publix, but also have options to place orders at CVS and Petco. I absolutely love it. For listeners of this podcast, I'm giving you 50% off. Yes, half off an annual membership when you sign up. That's a $49 annual membership, which is regularly $99. You can cancel at any time, but I promise you, you won't do that after you use Chip a few times. So here's what you need to do to take advantage of this offer. Head to my website, 99percentlocalpod.com/shipped. That's SHIPT. You've talked to me before about this Nashville Angels organization too. Are you involved with them?
Yeah, so I'm on the board of Nashville Angels, and kind of how that happened. May of 19, I was at a conference in Dallas, actually, and this woman gets up on stage to present her charity organization to the group. And I have always had a heart, right, for the orphan. And like after adopting internationally and finding out about the orphan crisis and the foster care system here locally, I thought, man, we don't always just have to do international things, right? Like it was weighed on my heart to make a difference here locally with the kids that don't have homes, right? And so John and I went to something in December that really kind of made us aware of the crisis here locally. And so I didn't know what to do about it. And I was sitting in Dallas, and this woman, Susan Ramirez, gets up on stage and starts talking about her organization. And basically, they come around foster families with love, support, mentorship. And basically, it's like adopting a family.
Yeah.
And as she's talking and sharing how two kids' outcomes can be so different when they have a family that loves and supports them versus the one that keeps going from home to home. And the displacement. Most kids are in the foster care system are moving homes on an average of 7 times every 2 years. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so when she shared her story, I'm bawling in the front row, and I ran up to her afterwards. I said, I need to find out how to get involved. And she said, we actually just launched a chapter in Nashville. So she connected me with Amanda Guerin, our president, and very quickly formed a relationship and was asked to be on the board. So I help with community relations. So getting the word out to churches and businesses locally to support financially, and then also with our Love Box program, which is where we bring boxes to families once a month. It's filled with monetary support and things, right? Like the necessities, but also that relationship and that mentorship. Yeah.
So how does that work with, trying to remember the organization here in Tennessee, what is it, Department of Children Services? Or that
DCS.
Manages the foster? Yeah, because my wife and I actually started going through classes last year to potentially be foster parents. So are you working with them, or is that completely separate?
It's fairly separate. Okay. I mean, we have to... they're aware of what we're doing, right? And we work with more private agencies typically. Okay. And so we're still in the very beginning stages. Yeah. So we have a couple of families. We're bringing on 5 families right now that we're going to support through Love Box. And as soon as we bring on a full-time case manager, we can expand our reach with that. So we're really excited. We just officially launched in August of 2019.
All right, let's get into what you do day to day and what you're doing with your business or businesses.
Yes.
So
right now I'm pretty focused on just 2 things. Okay. Trying to stay focused on just 2 things. But I've been in network marketing since 2013. And I actually, so how I got into network marketing, I kind of balked at it at first. I'm like, I have a real job. I really prided myself in my career. And I thought network marketing was like scammy, or you put in a whole bunch of money and don't actually make any. And, or it's what like housewives do, and so nothing wrong with that, but that I just, was like, I have a career. But I went to a thing that Damon John from Shark Tank put on and he was talking about residual income and passive income. And the only true key to wealth is he called it horizontal wealth. It's multiple streams of income, passive and residual. And you'll never get there with a corporate salary, I was a corporate ladder climber. Like that's how I thought I would set my family free. Right. In all reality, it took me away from my kids all the time. And at the time we only had the 3 kids and I never saw them, And so it opened my mind to the idea of network marketing. And so I decided to give it a go. And within 2 years, I replaced my full-time corporate income. In 3 years, I was making 6 figures in network marketing, which took me 14 years to try and get to in my corporate, journey, and never reached it. Yeah. And so all this while being home with my kids. So it changed everything for me. So I have a network marketing business that I love and I'm passionate about. And then I also, because I've had so much success in the industry, I just naturally had a lot of people coming to me asking for advice. And so I've recently launched my own coaching and training business. So my goal is to help women in network marketing build, a full-time income while still being there for their kids and reducing the overwhelm associated with that.
Is that what you're doing through the Butterfly Entrepreneur? Yes. And I'm in that group. I don't know if I'm supposed to be because I'm not totally a woman, obviously.
We have a couple men in there.
No, but like I said, I've got a lot of good stuff from you, especially for social media management. So, so what kind of stuff are you doing through Butterfly Entrepreneur? Because daily you're posting videos, doing interviews, live streams, things like that.
Yeah, just really teaching people in a simple way how to build and market online. We have the whole world at our fingertips with social media and with the internet, right? We can reach anybody. And so I just try and teach people how to use the audience that they have online to, show who they are, show where their gifts and talents are, and attract the right people to them. So big on attraction marketing. We're not supposed to appeal to everyone. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to appeal just to our ideal client and using our voice online to make an impact in the lives of people and not just sell people or not just share cat videos, right?
Yes. All right. So I want to talk a little bit more about social media. It's like I said, I've pinged you in the past because I'm trying to grow this podcast and was asking you, well, is Twitter used and all this other stuff. So you primarily use Facebook, correct?
I do.
You use Instagram as well.
I use Instagram.
So what are your thoughts on those platforms just for trying to be able to really grow a business, side hustle, whatever, creative project?
Yeah. I think, you can easily look up Google, right? What platforms, what social media platforms, what demographics are prevalent on those. So for me personally, right, I'm kind of the 30 to 40-year-old woman is who I'm trying to attract. So primarily on Facebook, also on Instagram and Pinterest, not on Twitter. So you've got to figure out where your ideal audience is hanging out. And like I said, if you know your ideal audience, a quick Google search will give you that information. So, some people think, oh, Facebook's dead, or they always change the algorithm and it's so hard to keep up. But if you are in it daily, right, and you have to adjust, you have to measure and adjust. So I'm constantly looking at my engagement. Where am I getting engagement? Where am I not? It used to be 2 years ago, live video. If you did live videos every day, you're getting thousands of views if you were consistent. Yeah. Well, that's dramatically dropped in the last 6 months because so many people are doing live video. So now it's figuring out, right, what is it that's getting that engagement? And so it takes work to keep up with it, but it's work that's worth it because, like I said, your reach can go so far. And a lot of people think that you have to do ad spends. Yeah. Or a lot of people think you need a business page. I don't really run my business page on Facebook. I grow everything organically through my profile, my personal profile. So, I think they're all great places to be. The young millennials, TikTok, it's all the rage right now.
Yeah, so Twitter, is that kind of like the old Donald Trumps and...
Yeah, Twitter's the older guy. Yeah. The older guy's on Twitter. Yeah. The guy who follows the sports, pop culture, I think you can do quite a bit on Twitter, but for me, it's not, there's going to be a lot more where you have to reach out and engage with people. Yeah. There's not much attraction marketing going on in Twitter. Okay.
So let's talk a little bit more about, some of what you would think is some top social media marketing tips that someone could use to either grow their business or whatever they want to promote. Like, as far as like how much you should post, how, how often, what type of content.
Yeah.
We already talked about interacting with followers, how big of a part that is.
Yeah. On Facebook, posting once or twice a day is ideal, and mixing up the medium. So whether that be, like, I try and mix it up from the text with the color background to the text with no background to a photo with long copy to a GIF to a video or a live video. So keeping it interesting that way. On Instagram, once a day, 3 times a week to once a day on your feed. But where it's at right now is in stories.
Yep.
So using your stories on Instagram and Facebook, that's where a ton of engagement comes and happens. So that ideally you're posting about 10 stories a day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it can be anything, right?
Yeah.
We can be a little more spammy, I say, in our stories,
okay.
right?
So 10 stories a day is okay.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll have to tell my wife that, because she's like, people are going to unfollow you, but...
As long as you keep it interesting.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, on the Instagram thing, like I said, you've helped me a lot. You showed some hacks, like how to interact with people's stories, things like that. Hashtags have actually been working well for what I'm doing with the podcast, with just, when a new episode comes out, adding all those hashtags to try to get more engagement. That's been working. What can you do, specifically with Instagram stories, to get more people to get engaged?
Yeah. Right now it's kind of a pain because there's bots out there doing a whole bunch of, like I used to be big on polls, but now my polls are bogus because there are all these bots answering, right? But the biggest thing is our proactive engagement. So people watching your stories. So what I do every day is I can see who's watching my story, and I go and look at that list. And if they have the circle around their face, that means they have a story, and I go interact with those. Yep. And so I think, we just want, a lot of times in the biggest mistake people make in social media is they post all the content and sit back and want people to come to them. When really your goal, number one, is in any business you're in online, is to be in people's inbox, to be in their DMs. And the way you can do that is by watching their stories and clicking one of the reactions, right? And then they see you in the inbox. And then if they double tap on your reaction and they've liked it, start up a conversation. It's all about relationship. People want relationship. People want engagement, both sides, right? In fact, the very well-known people, right? The big influencers, like Jenna Kutcher is a big influencer on Instagram. What really keeps her growing is the way she interacts with her followers. Because if you comment on her post, she's going to reply, even though she has millions of followers.
I don't know who Jenna Kutcher is.
That's okay.
Who is that?
She's a photographer that just built an Instagram following and now has a podcast, the Gold Digger podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your opinion on getting follows? Like, is it to get as many as you want? Because I know you'll end up getting followers who don't interact, or they'll just follow you and never do anything again, or like your posts. And it doesn't seem to cloudy up the algorithm as far as then who sees your content? Yeah.
The best thing, what Facebook and Instagram look at, is the ratio. So how many people are commenting and liking versus how many are following or friends, right? So it's better to have quality followers.
Yeah.
So you can find somebody that has, 200,000 followers or 50,000 followers, but if they were all bought and paid for and bots, it doesn't boost, right? Because if you're building online, the bottom line is if you're looking for clients, right? So what good are a ton of followers if you don't have people buying from you?
Right.
So go and the other thing is going where your clients live. So using those hashtag searches, what is your ideal client looking for? What are they using hashtags for, right? If you're in weight loss, maybe they're hashtag searching postpartum belly, right? Who knows? Right? You've got to go where they are.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about conspiracy theories? No, I'm kidding. I only brought that up because we got into that conversation months ago, if you remember.
I do.
And I think it was us against everyone else, but we won't go there.
If I let all that out, people will really unfollow me.
Yes, we'll lose listeners, or I will lose listeners anyway. So, all right. So we were talking earlier on. So you're looking at starting a podcast.
Yes.
What are you looking to do, and what are you doing with it?
So really geared towards the mom in network marketing that is feeling stuck, knows there's more for her life beyond network marketing. So I love network marketing because of what it can do to we call it personal development with a comp plan, right? So it causes you to grow and get out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there, be vulnerable in order to grow your business, right? But I call it a catalyst for your calling, because each of us have a calling on our life. Each of us have something that we're supposed to do, a group of people that we're supposed to impact. And that might be your local community, that might be across the globe, right? But we all have a calling, and network marketing gives you the opportunity to grow personally. It gives you the opportunity to grow your finances, and it gives you the opportunity to add more time back to your life because of the residual income it can create. So with all of that, that's my goal, is to help people build their network marketing business to a point that they have more choices so that they can go out and do those big things they're called to.
Awesome. Let's bring this back to a little bit more personal. So do you and John ever get date night with 7 kids?
It's rare. Our biggest struggle is with Esther, because there's only, her having the feeding tube 24/7, and it's really, and we just feel guilty asking anyone to help with her. But we try to get out at least once a month, even if it's after the girls go to bed, and we have the teenage boys to supervise, sneak out for a little bit.
Yeah. So the boys good at helping out too?
We have one teenage boy that's great at helping out. Yeah.
Awesome.
One responsible one.
All right. How fast can you say all 7 of your kids' names?
Okay. How fast can I say all 7 kids' names? All right. Sloan, Esther, Rig, Malachi, Mikey, Matthew, Merrick.
All right.
That's not very fast, is it?
I was just making sure you didn't forget any of them. So, okay. So do you guys all ever get to go out and do things together as a family around here or around Nashville?
So we are in the mode of paying off debt and being on a budget.
Yep.
So the things we do all together are attending ball games of the other kids.
Yeah.
So Rig plays travel baseball, so getting all to the baseball game. We have not done a ton all together because even a McDonald's trip is seriously expensive, right?
Yeah.
But we try and do game nights at home every once in a while, and we will be taking a trip to New Jersey, the Ocean City, the shore. My aunt has a huge house there with 6 bedrooms, so we all fit, and it's free. So we do those kind of things.
Ocean City. I thought that was Maryland.
There is an Ocean City, Maryland.
Okay, it's not the same.
Not the same.
Okay. Yeah, anything else? Good?
We're good.
All right.
Any closing statements you want to
No. So let's you have a website advertising some of the the business, the network. Actually, I don't know what you have on your website. So you have a website. It's wendyleestevenson.com. It kind of has a little bit of everything you're doing with your coaching and network marketing, right?
Yeah. So my website is always a work in progress. Right now, I have one of my online courses there. Really, the best way to connect is through Facebook. It's facebook.com/realwendylee. Or on Instagram, Real Wendy Lee. But my website is there. It will eventually be loaded with all of the content from the podcast.
So is there a fake Wendy Lee?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple Wendy Lees out there, so I had to add something to it to set it apart. So.
All right.
I used to be official, and I felt weird saying that. So.
Oh, yeah.
That was my discussion with Wendy Lee Stevenson. Before we get out of here, thanks for listening, and as always, you know how to find me. You can always email me at 99percentlocalpod@gmail.com or hit me up on the website at 99percentlocalpod.com or on Instagram at 99percentlocalpod. I've mentioned this in past weeks, but if you are a small business, musician, or creator in any other way, and you are struggling through this COVID-19 thing, hit me up and I'll do everything I can to help promote what you're doing, whether it's sharing your posts, live Instagrams, whatever. After all, community is what Middle Tennessee is all about. We'll see you next week.